Somewhere inside, you don't quite trust that anything good is actually stable. Your job, your relationship, the people who say they love you. It all feels precariously balanced. Balanced on something incredibly thin, and one mistake, one bad day, one wrong word could send the whole thing crashing down without warning, without mercy, without a second chance. So you stay careful, vigilant, always slightly braced, scanning constantly for the crack that might finally appear. The moment everything you've built quietly starts to fall apart. Not because you're dramatic, not because you're paranoid, because somewhere along the way you learned that stability wasn't something you could simply trust. It had to be earned constantly, protected exhaustingly, maintained through perfect behavior, because imperfect behavior once meant losing something that genuinely mattered, something you couldn't afford to lose again. This is the psychology of living like everything good is one mistake, away from disappearing, and understanding where it came from might finally help you set that weight down. Picture this. Things are going well, genuinely well. Your relationship feels warm. Your job feels secure. And instead of relaxing into that, some part of you tightens instead. You start scanning for what could go wrong. A slightly different tone in someone's voice. A missed message. A minor mistake at work that probably means absolutely nothing at all. But to you, it means everything. Your mind immediately jumps forward, imagining the collapse, rehearsing the loss, preparing for consequences that haven't actually happened and probably never will. You apologize preemptively for things that aren't mistakes yet. You over-explain simple decisions. You double-check messages repeatedly, terrified that one wrong word might quietly change everything forever. When something actually does go slightly wrong, panic arrives disproportionately fast. Not because the situation is genuinely catastrophic, but because your body has already decided catastrophe is coming. You find yourself apologizing far more than the situation actually requires, almost pleading for reassurance that this specific mistake won't be the one that finally costs you everything. And even when reassurance comes, it rarely fully lands. Some part of you remains braced, unconvinced, quietly certain that safety is always temporary, always conditional, always one moment from ending. This isn't simply anxiety in general, it's something more specific and considerably heavier. And understanding it starts with understanding exactly why stability never felt fully trustworthy to you. Psychologists sometimes describe this as contingent security, a nervous system pattern where safety feels entirely dependent on continuous, flawless performance rather than something inherently, unconditionally guaranteed. This typically develops in environments where stability genuinely was conditional, where one mistake, one bad mood, one wrong reaction actually did lead to real consequences you couldn't control. Maybe love, safety, or approval disappeared suddenly after a single misstep. Maybe good periods were reliably followed by sudden punishment, criticism, or emotional withdrawal you never fully saw coming. Your nervous system learned an efficient survival lesson from this. Don't relax, ever, because relaxing is exactly when the next collapse historically seemed to arrive without warning. This creates a specific kind of chronic vigilance, not fear of one particular danger, but a generalized, exhausting readiness for danger arriving from literally anywhere. Good moments stop feeling like simple good moments. They start feeling like fragile exceptions, temporary reprieves that require careful, constant maintenance to avoid triggering their inevitable, eventual collapse. This is exhausting precisely because it never truly rests. Even genuinely safe periods get processed through the same threat detection system, scanning constantly for the crack that hasn't appeared yet. And the cruelest part is this: the better things actually get, the more there feels like there is to lose, which paradoxically makes the underlying vigilance intensify rather than ease. Here is what happens inside someone who develops this pattern early. At some point, your environment taught you a very specific, very consistent lesson about consequences. Maybe a parent's love felt reliably conditional on your behavior. Maybe one mistake led to a genuinely disproportionate reaction. Maybe stability simply vanished repeatedly, unpredictably, without adequate explanation. Your developing brain concluded something logical. Given that evidence, safety isn't a baseline state. Safety is a performance, and performances, by their very nature, can absolutely fail. So you became remarkably skilled at maintaining the performance, reading rooms accurately, anticipating problems early, managing your behavior carefully enough to prevent the collapse you'd already witnessed happen before. This skill genuinely worked in its original context. It likely protected you, kept consequences smaller, helped you navigate a specifically unpredictable environment with real skill and precision. But the nervous system doesn't automatically update once the environment changes. It continues applying the old lesson, scanning for the same collapse pattern, long after actual conditions shifted significantly. And here is the open loop worth holding on to, because we're absolutely coming back to it. This hypervigilance reflects genuinely sophisticated pattern recognition, not simple, baseless overreaction. As an adult, this often means struggling to fully believe reassurance, even when it's completely genuine, because reassurance contradicts the deeply learned lesson that safety always eventually disappears. You may find yourself testing relationships unconsciously, almost checking whether love survives your mistakes, because somewhere inside, you're still gathering evidence about whether this time is different. This creates a painful loop. The more anxious you become about losing something, the more that anxiety itself can strain the very relationship or stability you're desperately trying to protect. You see it in the employee who reads a short, neutral email from their boss and immediately assumes something has gone seriously, catastrophically wrong, despite zero actual evidence supporting that fear. You see it in the partner who apologizes repeatedly after minor disagreements, needing explicit reassurance that the relationship remains genuinely intact, unable to simply trust that disagreement doesn't equal ending. You see it in the person who overworks constantly, convinced that slowing down, even briefly, might finally reveal they were replaceable, expendable, or simply never actually secured to begin with. You see it in the friend who reads long silences as definite rejection, immediately assuming they've done something wrong, rather than considering the other person might simply be busy. You see it in the person who cannot fully celebrate good news, some background part of their mind already quietly calculating exactly what might go wrong next, to balance things out. You see it in the one who stays in situations far longer than genuinely healthy, terrified that leaving voluntarily means losing stability entirely, rather than trading one stability for another. You see it in the person who over-apologizes for entirely reasonable requests, genuinely afraid that simply asking for something might quietly tip the fragile balance toward eventual, inevitable loss. You see it in the one who feels a flash of genuine dread whenever something goes unusually smoothly, almost waiting for the other inevitable shoe to finally predictably drop somewhere nearby. And you see it in the specific exhausting loneliness of never quite being able to simply enjoy something good without simultaneously bracing for its eventual, seemingly inevitable disappearance. This creates a particular kind of grief, genuinely having good things while rarely, if ever, feeling fully able to actually trust or fully inhabit having them completely. I promised we'd return to something important. This hypervigilance reflects genuinely sophisticated pattern recognition, not baseless overreaction. Let's talk about exactly why that's actually true. Your nervous system didn't invent this fear randomly. It built an accurate internal model based on real, repeated evidence that stability genuinely could, and sometimes did. That's not irrational thinking. That's your brain doing precisely what brains are designed to do. Learning patterns from lived experience and applying them consistently to protect you afterward. The problem isn't that your threat detection system works. The problem is that it's still running calculations based on an environment that may no longer accurately reflect your current reality. You developed an extraordinary capacity to read subtle warning signs, manage relationships carefully, and maintain stability through genuinely skilled effort. That capacity is not a flaw to eliminate entirely. Here's the reframe that matters. You're not broken for expecting collapse. You're running a well-calibrated model that was built somewhere your actual environment has since genuinely changed. The goal was never to stop caring about stability entirely. The goal is teaching your nervous system patiently that this current environment operates by meaningfully different, more forgiving rules. Not everyone leaves after one mistake. Not everyone withdraws love conditionally. Some stability really is more solid, more forgiving, more genuinely secure than what you originally learned to expect. So what does healing this actually look like? It begins with noticing the bracing when it happens, and gently asking, is this actual evidence, or is this simply an old pattern? It means practicing letting genuinely good moments simply exist without immediately auditing them for hidden danger, even when that stillness itself feels unfamiliar, uncomfortable, or somehow undeserved. It means allowing yourself to make small, low-stakes mistakes on purpose sometimes, gathering real evidence that this particular relationship, this particular job, genuinely survives ordinary human imperfection. It means choosing relationships and environments that remain steady, even when tested, because consistent evidence repeated often enough is precisely what slowly, gradually recalibrates old fear responses. This vigilance kept you safe once, in a genuinely unpredictable environment. It was intelligent, adaptive, and completely necessary back then. But you're finally allowed to gently update it now because you were never one mistake away from losing everything that actually matters. You were simply carrying an old, outdated map into rooms that no longer resemble it.